Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Los Angeles City Council. Today is
Damas y
Wednesday,
caballeros,
February 1st,
bienvenidos al
2006.
Consejo de
We
Los
are in John
Ángeles.
Ferraro
Es
Council Chambers here
el
at City Hall, room
febrero
340, which is open to the
2006,
public
febrero
for our
primero.
regular scheduled meetings every Tuesday, Wednesday, and
Cada
Friday
martes,
here
miércoles
in
y
these chambers, and we
viernes
invite
en
members of the
esta
public to come
sala
here and give public testimony on
conducimos
items that are
las
before us.
audiencias
We're being broadcast
públicas.
live on Channel 35, LA City View, your
Transmitimos en el
channel,
canal
and also being
35
webcast on our
y
city's
también
homepage, www.lacity.org, which is a great place to go for information about the city and your representatives.
Pueden obtener
We are
muy
also
buena
being
información de
shown on
su
council
ciudad.
phone, which you can call in
Tenemos un
and
teléfono
hear live proceedings of the city
para
council,
poder
either
escuchar
on our committees or our full council
vivo.
days. So with that, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Con eso en mente,
Padilla, Parks,
se nombren
Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith,
los
Weiss,
concejales
Wesson, Stein,
presentes.
Garcetti, 10 members present, and a quorum is
Hay
present.
We have a
10
quorum. Thank you, members, for being
miembros
here timely.
presentes que
First order of
forman
business,
un
please.
quórum.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr.
Aprobación
Smith
de
moves,
las
Mr. Weiss
minutas
seconds, unanimous
será
vote, those are
el
approved.
primer tema.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Parks moves and Mr.
Mociones
Wesson seconds,
comendatorias
unanimous
para
vote, no
aprobación.
objection, so ordered.
Mr. President, this is a time for comments from the public on
este
items not on
momento,
council's agenda.
Okay? I would ask for everybody's attention in the room right now as we take public comment, and like to invite forward Agustin Severa to be our first speaker, to be followed by Juan Rodriguez,
Después de esto, Juan Rodríguez.
Luisa. Okay, if we can, hold on one second, we're just going to do one brief presentation that the mayor has joined us, and then we'll get to those public comment cards in just 1 second, if I can ask folks' indulgence. At this time, I'd like to recognize, for a special presentation, the mayor of our city, Antonio Villaraigosa, who will be joined by council members
Villaraigosa, que estará con
Parks and Wesson. Are you part of the presentation with the mayor? I'd like to recognize all of you at this time.
Thank you,
Welcome, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. President, for accommodating us here today. I'd like to ask the council members Parks, and Han, Perry, and Wesson to join
Perry y Wesson que
me,
estén conmigo.
and our
en
authors
nuestra-
study club members, if they can come on up as well.
Grupo de estudio de autores, si pueden venir.
You can't hide behind me. Yeah, both of y'all have a problem. I didn't miss you. I know you did. Okay.
You will be seeing my daughter. She's a mayor of Dayton, Ohio.
Oh, my goodness.
I'll have her look you up.
Here we go. We got everybody.
Yeah.
Councilmember Parks as well. And
Concejal
want to ask,
y quiero pedir
I want to thank the Council
Y
President
agradecer al
Garcetti for allowing me to make
presidente,
this
señor Garcetti,
presentation
permitirme
today. Try to keep
hacer
within the
esta
time limits that
presentación,
you
dejarla
requested. We're here today to honor our author
hacerla
study
dentro de
club
los
that
límites. Ahora estamos
has been
aquí
for
para honrar
47
un
years
grupo de
the premier
estudio
organization
y por 40
that kicks off
años ha
the
sido
annual
una
African American
organización
Heritage Month
que
celebration in the
comienza
city of
el
Los
mes de
Angeles.
la
That
celebración
means they've been around since
afroamericana.
Mayor Fletcher
Esta
Bowen,
vez han estado
Sam
aquí
Yorty,
desde el alcalde
well, the club, not every one of you, obviously.
de todo el club. No,
You're all
no
very
todos
young.
ustedes son muy
You've only been here a
jóvenes,
few years,
solamente
but young at heart,
muchachos,
that's
pero son
right.
jóvenes
Boy,
de
tough
corazón.
crowd. Since Fletcher Bowen, Sam Yorty, Tom Bradley,
Tom Bradley y
Dick Reardon,
Dick Reardon.
Jim Hahn, and now myself. So this is an organization with lasting power. And we actually have something, this was a group that started at Terminal Annex, and I used to work at Terminal Annex. Yes, I did. I was worked in the post office there and as a mail handler when I was at UCLA. So I have a special affinity with that organization, and we're pleased to recognize your significant role of sharing diversity and cultural education, and your dedication keeps African American traditions alive and vibrant in the city. And I think in these times,
y gentes
Today,
en la
as we
ciudad en este
mourn
momento,
the memory and the
ahora
life,
que
and celebrate the life as
vemos
well of Coretta
la
Scott
vida
King,
del señor
all of us
Coretta Scott King, todos nosotros
understand how important
entendemos
the
que
civil
tan
rights
importante
movement was
es el
to
movimiento
making
de los
America a better place for more people, and
derechos
we
civiles y
also
también
understand how
nosotros
important it is
entendemos qué
for
tan importante
people
es
to
para que la
know
gente
their history and
reconozca
know about
sus
their culture, and
herencias, su
to be able
cultura,
to share
y
through
poder
reading
compartir
the many, many inspiring stories that are so
tantas
important
historias tan
to passing
para
on to the next generation. So I
seguir
want
esto a la
to
siguiente
acknowledge all of you, and
generación. Quiero
I'd like to call up,
reconocer
let me
a todos
present this
ustedes
first, and
y llamar a
so
algunas
on
de las
behalf of the City of Los
por
Angeles, and
parte de la
along with
ciudad de
my
Los Ángeles,
colleagues
con
here who
mis
I'm assuming want to
compañeros,
say a few words as well,
y
I'd
alguien
like
también
to
quiere
acknowledge you
dar unas
for the
palabras
work that you've done
y
for
reconocer
47
el-
years, since
la labor que ha hecho por
1950,
47 años,
in
desde
helping to proclaim
1950,
African American Heritage Month,
ayudando a
celebrate the contributions of
darle
African
resalto
Americans,
al mes
not just to the city of Los Angeles, but to
no
the
solamente
nation
a la ciudad de Los
and the
Ángeles,
world.
pero
We thank you so much
a través de la
for the
nación
work
y el
that you
mundo.
do
Le
with
agradecemos
young
mucho
people,
por la labor que hace
because
para la
our young
gente
people are our future and they're the
joven,
key
porque los
to
jóvenes son
passing
nuestro
on
futuro
this information to our next
para
generation.
pasar esta información a nuestra siguiente generación.
Would you like? Before we do the next one?
I was much slimmer one day. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I would just like to also add my
Alcalde, también
voice.
quiero agradecer y
Not only
agregar
is the
mi voto.
African American
No
Heritage Month
solamente este es el
important
mes de la
to this city,
herencia
but across the
afroamericana
nation,
para esta ciudad,
having just recently come back from
pero
Atlanta,
ahora recientemente
where
acabo de regresar de
you
Atlanta,
walk the streets with living
donde
legends like
uno
Andrew Young
camina
and walk in the footsteps of Maynard Jackson and many people that we
calles
have
con
grown to
gente
know
que ha
and love.
tenido
It's
ya
also important to
mucha
talk about
trayectoria y es muy
what is
importante
going on in
también
the city of
hablar
Los Angeles.
de lo
And
que
as
está
all of us
sucediendo
have
en
gone
la
to
ciudad de
school
Los
and
Ángeles, y ya
often
que
wondered
todos
about
hemos ido a la escuela y
the
normalmente
accomplishments of
nos
minorities in our regular
preguntamos
history book and
acerca
civics books,
de las
and we cannot find them,
logros que
it
se
is
lograron por
important that
parte de
we
las
identify
minorías,
this
lo
reading
buscamos
list
en
in the
los
book
libros y
club
no los
to talk
encontramos.
about the
Es
achievements
importante
of
ver en
cultures
estos libros para ver y
throughout the
hablar
city of LA,
de
and
los
that we
logros que
pride ourselves in that this
se han
city
hecho
has 100+ languages
de
spoken,
las
and we
minorías,
pride
que
ourselves
esta
in looking
ciudad
at what has been
que habla
achieved
tantos
in human rights and civil rights
lenguajes
across the
y
nation.
los logros que se
But I
han
don't think
hecho
we can
a
forget about
través de los
the
derechos
significant
humanos, pero
achievements
no creo que
locally
podamos
when,
olvidar los
as I
logros
was
a
reminded as I
nivel
went to the
local.
funeral
Yo les
of
recuerdo, fui al
recently
funeral
Congressman Roy Ball, and one of the
del
things that was
congresista
stated,
Roy Ball. Una de las
here's a
cosas de
person
que se
that was
dijeron
born,
que fue una
raised
de
in
las
the city of
personas
Los
que nació
Angeles,
y se crió en la ciudad de Los
but as
Ángeles,
an
pero
Hispanic could not swim in a
una
city
persona hispana
park and
no
recreation
podría
pool until the day
nadar
before
en
they
una
let the water out to clean the
alberca
pool.
pública.
Those are
hasta que
issues that often
dejaron que
are
esta
overlooked, or where
escena
blacks in the
se
50s couldn't go to the beach and
limpiara.
swim in the
Estos-
local Pacific
los
Ocean,
afroamericanos
and
no
the
podrían nadar
issue
en
of
el
Lemert Park that had
Océano
covenants in the property
Pacífico
in which
local.
blacks could not own, or
Indicaron
Asians couldn't live
situaciones
there
donde
over
los
8 hours
las
a
personas
day,
de
or
color
if you
no
go to the
podrían
fire station
estar ahí,
at Arlington
o los-
and Vernon and see the actual signs
la gente
in the
asiática.
fire station for a city firehouse that said
Y dice-
colored living quarters,
decían en las
white
estaciones de
living
bomberos,
quarters, colored water fountain.
zonas
These are things
segregadas,
that happen in
fuentes
the
de
city of
beber
LA, and I think it's
segregadas.
important that we
Esto
continue to
sucedió
remember
aquí en
where
la
we
ciudad
come
de
from
Los
so we know where
Ángeles y
we're
creo que
going.
es
I just want
importante
to
que
commend
sepamos
these
de
young
dónde
ladies
venimos
here
para
today
saber hacia
for
dónde nos dirigimos.
continuing to
A
keep
estas
that
jovencitas
legacy
les
alive,
agradezco
because so much of
y
our
para
history
seguir
is
manteniendo
passed
nuestro
on
legado
verbally, but the more that we
en
can
vida,
have the ability to
y
reach
entre
out
más
and touch
podamos
and
tener
read
la
books for our kids,
capacidad
the more they'll
de leer
understand
y
what their true
hablarle a
heritage
nuestros
is. Thank
niños
you very
de
much,
esto.
Mr. Mayor.
Es un mejor entendimiento para nuestros hijos.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor,
gracias,
Mr.
señor
Parks, and I'm
alcalde,
very
señor
honored to
Parks.
stand here
Tengo
with you today and all the
estoy muy
members of
honrada
our
de estar
Author
aquí,
Study Club.
los miembros
And
del grupo de
I've been
estudio.
told that it's been
Se
61
me ha
years.
dicho
Has it
que
been that
son
long? It's
61
amazing.
años, ¿verdad? Sí,
Has
es
stayed
increíble.
true to its mission of
Y
researching
ellos siguen
and
con su
learning more about
misión
African American
de
history.
aprender más
Each
de la
year, they work with our
historia
city family and all of our
afroamericana. Cada
communities
año
to shed
colaboran con
light on
nuestra
our shared
comunidad,
history
en todas
and
nuestras
highlight its
comunidades,
significance for today and for the
dándonos
future.
más
And I think we we owe them a debt
continuación
of gratitude for educating us.
de
Now, this year is kind of
estas
special, especially for me.
investigaciones. Este año es muy
The Our
importante,
Author Study
especialmente
Club
para mí.
is having a walking
Una
tour
autora de este
of historic
club
Black
de
Los Angeles
estudio
this
va a
Saturday.
tener un
And
tour
you're going to take off at
que
8:30
será el sábado a
Saturday
las
morning.
8:30 por la
And I
mañana.
know you're
Este
going to
sábado
Council
sé
District
que
9,
va
and I
a ir
actually have
al
a site I want to add to your
Distrito
list.
9. Quiero
Now, they are going
agregarle
to
un
Central
lugar para que
Avenue,
visiten
and they
a
will,
su lista.
our
Van a
home
ir
of the
ir a la
Jazz
avenida
Indigenous Art
central,
Forum here in Los Angeles, the Dunbar
nuestro
Hotel,
legado de
the Ralph Bunche House, and I
el
wanted to
Hotel
suggest to you
Dunbar.
Fire Station 14.
También
Oh,
les quiero
you're
sugerir
going to go there?
ir a la
Okay, the African
estación
American Firefighters Museum. Okay, and I want
del
to also
distrito de-
thank the club not only for preserving
Estación de
and
bomberos del
supporting
14
history
Distrito Afroamericana
for the young
y
people in our
también
city,
gracias
but
por
you also
respaldar a
provide
nuestros jóvenes, pero
scholarships,
también
which is
ustedes
something that should also be given
otorgan
recognition.
becas, eso
And it's
también
just
se
an
debe
honor
de
to be able to stand
reconocer.
here with you today. And I know that
Y yo
Sandra
sé
Evers
que
Manley
Sandra
is
Evers
not with you
Manley no
today,
está aquí con usted
but, oh,
hoy,
you're accepting for her, okay.
pero bueno,
And
usted
I guess she is the
está
general
recibiendo
chairperson
eso
for the
parte de ella, que
celebration
parece
and
que
the
es la
vice president
persona
of ethics, diversity at Northrop Grumman Corporation,
presidente de
and the president of the Northrop
diversificación
Grumman
y
Foundation.
asuntos
So I wanted to thank her as well and look
étnicos. Le
forward
quiero
to
agradecer a ella
seeing
también
you and giving you a
y
good send-off
espero
this coming
volverla a
Saturday.
ver y este
Thank you so
sábado
much.
desearle muchas felicidades a la Weston.
First of all, I want
Antes que
to
nada
thank the
quiero
President
agradecerle al
for
presidente
affording us
por
this courtesy.
darnos
You know, I mean, when the mayor makes a
esa
request,
cortesía
I
cuando
think
el
it's a smart
alcalde hace
president that
una
tries to
petición. Creo que es una buena
shows why
idea
you are president of this
mostrarle a
council.
usted por
For me, this
qué
is
es usted el
special
presidente aquí, ¿verdad?
because
Esto es
a lot
especial para
of the
mí.
young ladies that you
Muchas de las
see
jovencitas que ustedes
surrounding
ven
me today
alrededor de mí
helped raise me in
me ayudaron
politics.
a
I've worked with them
criarme dentro
over
de la
the years.
política, trabajé con ellos
When I
durante
first
los
started
años,
with
cuando
Councilman Nate
comencé por
Holden,
primera
and
vez
I
con
never
el concejal
envisioned
Nate
that I would
Holden,
have an
nunca
opportunity
me
to
imaginé que
stand with
tendría la
you on a
oportunidad
day
de
like
estar
this,
aquí con
the
ustedes en un día
councilperson
como
for
este,
many of you
como
to
un
say,
concejal,
job well
para
done.
decir
Continue the good
qué buena
work, and
labor,
again,
continúen
I would have never
haciendo esto.
dreamed this
Nunca
back in
hubiera podido soñar
1987 when I
esto
got in
en
this business. Let's give these
1987
young ladies a
cuando
real round
comencé
of
a hacer
applause.
esto. Vamos a darle un grande aplauso a estas jovencitas.
Boy, they are good, aren't they good?
Qué buenas
Boy,
son, ¿verdad?
I tell you.
Bueno,
But why don't we stay here for a second?
bueno,
Just
mientras
for a
estamos
second.
aquí,
We're
por
going to
favor,
call
un
up
segundo, vamos a
a very well-known
convocar a un
sportscaster, a celebrity, a
una
humanitarian,
celebridad,
a great community advocate, Jim Hill. If you'd come up for a second.
deportivo, Jim Hill.
See the response he gets. Come on up here, Jim. Well, you all know him. You've seen him on CBS, on KABC. You've seen him as a commentator
Yes.
from time to time on various sports games. And when I think about him, I think about a guy who is committed to community. You also see him at emceeing many events. You see him supporting.
that was the 10
Got a
minutes.
new president in town.
That was the 10 minutes we hoped for, but
We got a
why don't we
new
add a couple
president
minutes
in
here?
town.
Well, we had 2 minutes, Madam Clerk.
He's a member of the Board of Directors of the LA Urban League, a member of the Board of Directors of the Grossman's Burn Center in Sherman Oaks. He's been on the advisory board of the Boy Scouts. But that's just a small inkling of the many humanitarian and community efforts that he's engaged in over the many years that he's been here. And on behalf of the City of Los Angeles, I'd like to recognize Jim Hill for all his contributions, not just to the African American community, not just to sports, but to Los Angeles overall. And if I could, on behalf of the City of Los Angeles, we'd like to acknowledge you for the work that you do, for all that you give this great city of Los Angeles.
Wonderful.
Would you like to say something?
Mayor Villaraigosa, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the City Council, I am deeply humbled and proud to be here today. I'm a little taken by this because there are many people who have done far more than I and could be and should be standing here instead of me today. But I promise you I will work even harder to try to make myself worthy of this wonderful honor that you've given me today. And as we celebrate and start to celebrate our month-long African American heritage and we mourn the death of Mrs. King, I think it's very important that we remember one of the teachings of Dr. King when he said, we all want to be recognized and appreciated for who we are on the inside instead of what we look like on the outside. And more so than ever before, let's keep the faith. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and to President of Council and members present. We're indeed grateful that you have given us the opportunity to come to City Hall today to receive this recognition. It is true we are beginning our 61st year as a group. And this year is especially important to us because our theme, which is set 10 years in advance, says celebrating community, a tribute to fraternal, social, and civic institutions. And we have many of them that make up the community of Los Angeles, and we will be celebrating them, learning about them, teaching others about them. So thank you so very much for this opportunity. Oh, on Saturday morning, we're going to be out on South Lawn with our kickoff at 11, Friday morning. I'm getting two things, you know. I got 2 ears, but I can only understand one at a time. We're going to be having our kickoff right out on South Lawn. The next morning at 8 o'clock, we're going to take our annual bus tour leaving from Consolidated Realty Board at 3725 Don Felipe Drive. And if you've not taken this, we invite you to come. It's a free event, and you will learn much. And then I'm going to the next week because on the 11th, we're going to be celebrating our scholars and our scholar. Our scholar is Dr. Carter G. Woodson, and we will be celebrating the 12 scholars that we assist with scholarships throughout their 4 years. So we invite you to join us at the Marriott in Marina del Rey, 11:30 on Saturday the 11th. You will be amazed because we're honoring sports makers, and some of them have years and some of them are very young. So come and join us on Saturday, February the 11th, Marriott Hotel.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you all very much, and congratulations. And great to have you in council chambers, Mr. Hill. True LA and American legend. All right, with that, we'll return to public comment. My apologies to the folks who are waiting. Agustin, you're the first speaker. If I can ask folks to please keep their conversations to a minimum so we can hear public speakers. That'll be followed by Juan Rodriguez, Luisa Mavropoulos, and we'll take those three first. Please. Microphone is yours.
You know, in the memory of Martin Luther King and Coretta Scott King, and the memory of Gonzalo Mendez. A lot of you probably don't even know who Gonzalo Mendez was. He fought the Westminster School District over the question of segregated education here in California in 1948. It went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court overturned segregated education here in California. And the struggle continues. In Echo Park, the local neighborhood council there maintains segregation, maintains white supremacy. On this last week, a week ago to yesterday, we went, 50 of us, Mexicans, Latinos, for an election that was on the agenda of the JEPNEC to have an election for 7 vacant at-large positions. We get there, and Mr. Matthew Dubois, the president, he was scared. There were so many Mexicans that had not been coming to this meeting, and he canceled the election. We're fighting for democracy in Iraq, but here in Echo Park, we are not allowed to vote over some technicality, supposedly that the bylaw said that it had to be within 30 days of the confirmation of the election results of October 29th, and yet we were not allowed to have our vote, to have our candidates come forth and have a chance to be elected. So this is what we're fighting still here. Here it is, 2006, first day of February, and we are still fighting for democracy in Echo Park. The white-dominated neighborhood council does not want to allow us to have a vote. And I think you all that are here, you council people, if you're listening, Mr. Cardenas and Mr. Huizar, could you please do something about this, get in touch with Dunn, and
Thank you.
force them to give us an election?
Thank you, Agustin. Our next speaker is Juan Rodriguez.
I'm going to speak in Spanish.
Okay, we'll get a translator, make sure. Un momento. Okay. Por favor.
Buenos días,
Buenos días.
Mr. Garcetti.
Good morning, Mr. Garcetti.
La semana pasada tuvimos una protesta en la ciudad de Echo Park para denunciar el problema de los desalojos y la gentrification que está habiendo en la ciudad.
Last week we had a protest in Echo Park to complain about the
Gentrification, the evictions
about the evictions
y la gentrification que está habiendo en contra de las comunidades minoritarias, la comunidad afroamericana, la comunidad latina.
and the gentrification that is being taking place against the Latin and Afro-American communities.
Yo represento a 50 familias de la comunidad de Echo Park y recientemente nos enteramos de que existen $1,000 millones para vivienda accesible para familias de bajos recursos.
I represent 15 families in Echo Park, and we recently found out that there are $1,000 million available for low-income families.
Hablamos con un representante de su oficina, Mitch Farrell, y nos comentaron que este fondo va a ser muy competitivo para las familias que están luchando por estos recursos.
We spoke to one of the representatives of the office, Mitchell Park, and we were told that these funds were going to be, it was going to be very competitive to obtain them.
Hace 2 años, cuando empezamos nuestro proyecto, hablamos con el señor Ed Reyes.
Señor, ¿qué?
¿Ed Reyes?
2 years ago, when we started our project, we spoke to Mr. Reyes.
Y la respuesta de él fue que anteriormente ya habían apoyado a unas familias en Pico Union con $3 millones para vivienda accesible.
His response was that previously they had helped families with $3 million.
Y ellos terminaron peleándose. Las familias terminaron peleándose.
And the families end up in a dispute.
Nosotros no creemos que las grandes corporaciones de vivienda, que son las que están apoderando de la ciudad, no se peleen por los recursos.
We do not believe that the big corporations and housings are not fighting for the resources.
Y en este sentido, nosotros creemos que las comunidades minoritarias, los trabajadores,
In this sense, we want that the minority communities and the workers
tenemos también formas de organizarnos y también tenemos derecho a tener acceso a estos recursos de los cuales habló el mayor Antonio Villarraigosa.
we also have ways to organize ourselves, and also we want to participate and get those resources, the ones that Mayor Villarraigosa talked about.
Nosotros trabajamos en las escuelas por apoyar al señor Reyes.
We work in the schools to support Mr. Reyes.
Trabajamos en las anteriores elecciones para apoyar al señor Antonio Villarraigosa.
We worked also for the previous elections to support Mr. Antonio Villarraigosa.
Y trabajamos también por apoyarlo a usted, señor Garcetti.
Also, we work to support you, Mr. Garcetti.
Hemos sacado a los jóvenes que son ciudadanos para votar. A los jóvenes. Sacado a los jóvenes.
We have gotten the young people that are citizens to be able to vote.
Y ahora nosotros queremos escuchar la voz de ustedes, no queremos que siga sucediendo lo mismo, que miles de familias sigan siendo expulsadas de sus casas.
And now we want to hear from you. We don't want to have the same situation happening. We don't want thousands of families
Gracias.
being evicted.
Gracias por su testimonio.
Voy a terminar por último, dame un segundo nada más.
Just a second, please. I'm about to finish.
Desafortunadamente, hay 4 minutos. We gave 4 minutes, which was double the extra, so I have to go to the next speaker. If you could just conclude. Okay.
Okay, gracias nada más. Y
Okay.
entonces quisiéramos saber si pueden
Thank you very
acceder
much.
a darnos
And
una
we want to know
respuesta.
if you can give us an answer and to be able to speak
We'll
to
be
you.
in touch, for sure. Thank you very much. Sarah Galvan is our next speaker. Sorry, after Luisa Mavropoulos and then Sarah. Good morning.
Good morning. Dear Council, President Garcetti, and City Council, it's an honor to be here before you today, especially President Garcetti, as you are my representative in District 13. I'm here in regards to an agendized item that was on the Greater Echo Park Galicia Neighborhood Council agenda last week, January the 24th, and that was the voting in of the at-large representatives. I look around here at the council and I see the diversity of the city of Los Angeles. Yet I look at my neighborhood council board and all I see is Anglos. I see no representation of any minority that reflects our community. We are 65% Latino in our neighborhood council, and yet we have no representation. Like I said, on the 24th, the board was supposed to vote in Latino representatives. We organized the previous week, brought in Spanish translation, and brought in 40 to 50 communities strong who came to vote and be voted in. When it came to our agendized item to vote, we were given a chuckle and told by President Matthew Dubois, oops, I made a mistake. You can't vote. You don't want me to break the bylaws, do you? This neighborhood council has broken them so many times, it's a joke. Are we living in 1952 Alabama or in apartheid Africa? No, we are in 2006 Los Angeles. This is African Heritage Month. I think Dr. King would be standing here with us if he were living today, shaking his head saying, what is going on in the city of Los Angeles? Our own neighborhood council consultant has says he doesn't know how the city of Los Angeles passed our bylaws. It's a joke. We are constantly told by Mr. Greg Nelson that the neighborhood councils are babies. Well, this baby is now a toddler and is not potty trained. Do we just let this toddler pee on everyone? Or do we do the right thing and train and change it for the better?
Thank you very much,
Where's
Luisa.
our due process?
I appreciate your comments. Thank you very much. Sarah Galvan? Just for all public speakers, we installed that clock in the new year just so folks can follow their time as closely as possible. Thank you very much. Appreciate your testimony. Sarah.
Council President and City Council, thank you for letting me speak today. I come before you today in regard to the Greater Elysian Echo Park Neighborhood Council. It's come to our attention that the City Council is planning on giving our neighborhood councils more responsibility. As it is, our neighborhood council cannot handle the responsibility that they have now. And they do not represent what the people in the community want. They're a self-serving group. And I live in District 1, I'm a stakeholder in District 1, and when they did the budget for this fiscal year, instead of taking this $5,000 to do something good for the community, they took it into a land survey for development to commercialize our neighborhood, and we don't want that. We want the neighborhood council to do good for the community, not for their pocketbooks. So I do ask that our current JEPNIC be decertified, rebuild with people who actually care about what goes on in our community, and pass some bylaws that can actually hold water. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Our next group of speakers is from South Central Farmers, Rosa Ramirez, Sonia Madrid, Maribel Tlatoa, Alberto Tlatoa, Esther Lopez, Eustolia Ochoa, Josefina Medina, Lucila Delgado, Maria Rodriguez, Remedios Zapata, Maria Reyes, Yolanda Ramirez, Federico Vargas, Jose Nicolas, Luisa Vallejo, and Felipe Guevara. Bienvenidos.
Yo soy Rosa Ramírez. Buenos días, señores alcalde.
Good morning, my name is Rosa Ramirez. Good morning, Mr. Mayor.
Rosa Ramírez. Pues aquí estamos representando el jardín que nos quieren privar de allí, pero allí
And we're here representing the garden where they want to keep it away from us.
allí nos sentimos nosotros bien contentos a estar trabajando,
We feel very
a, sem-
happy there, working there,
a sembrar lo que nos gusta,
And
a
gro-
comer.
growing the things that we like to grow.
Pues allí también los niños les estamos enseñando a trabajar la tierra, a que vayan reconociendo para que ellos mañana pasado, cuando ellos quieran, siembren también.
And so we are also teaching the children to grow the land. And so in the future, if they want to do that, they know.
Hay señoras que necesitan mucho ese lugar, que allí se encuentran muy contentas,
There are
se
women
sienten aliviadas.
that they really need that place and they feel very happy there. They feel relieved.
Porque se encuentran muy enfermas, hasta los doctores les dicen que busquen un jardín para que ellas allí convivan y estén contentas.
Because they're very ill, and even the doctors tell them to find a garden so they can feel better.
Y ellas allí dicen que se sienten hasta aliviadas. Y allí, pues allí es lo que sembramos, lo que nosotros nos gusta.
And they say that they feel relieved there, and what we grow there is what we like to grow.
Y como le decimos, es que los niños que aprendan cosas buenas, no andar en las calles
And that's-
pensando cosas malas.
As we're telling you, that's a good thing for children to learn. Good things, not to be out on the street and being up to no good.
Que aprendan algo de bueno, no de malo.
And to learn good things, not bad things.
Porque nosotros, es lo que nosotros le estamos enseñando a los niños, a trabajar, a ganarse la tortilla honradamente.
Because that's what we're teaching our children, to work and to live
Gracias.
our lives with
Thank you.
honorably.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Sonia Madrid Swanser y yo vengo
Good afternoon, my name is Sonia Madrid Swanser,
vengo en representación del 41 Street en
and
la
I'm here
Alameda.
representing
Yo vengo
41 Street
también
in
para
Alameda,
rogarles a todos
and I'm here also to
que por
beg
favor
all
nos
of you,
ayuden a
please, to
conservar
help us to
ese
maintain, to keep
parque donde sembramos,
that park, the one that we
cosechamos
use to
lo que vamos a
grow
comer,
the land
nuestros
and
alimentos.
harvest what we are going to eat ourselves.
Y nuestros niños ahí juegan muy a gusto, muy tranquilos
Our children are very happy there playing,
y se mantienen afuera de drogas y de otras cosas malas que hay en la ciudad.
and they stay away from drugs and other bad things that are out there in the city.
Yo creo que nuestras personas mayores, las que vivimos, el alcalde y el presidente y todos,
I think that
nos deberían de ayudar,
the
porque
older
esto
people,
es
the
para
mayor,
toda la
the
comunidad, no
presidents,
es solo
and
para una persona.
everyone should help us because this
Y ahí
is for
sacamos
the entire
productos
community,
naturales,
not only for one person.
insecticidas, sin nada, son naturales, orgánicos,
We
para todo
grow natural grown products
lo que necesita nuestro organismo. Muchas gracias.
and no without pesticides and what our bodies really need.
Good morning, City Council member.
Good morning.
My name is Maribel Claptoa. The South Central farmers have created an oasis where children and senior citizens are all productive members of our community, where everybody participates. Yet, as we all know, South Central is a very violent place at times. But yet, the land on 41st and Alameda is essential for the survival of 350 families, and these are only the ones that are active within the farm, and there are many more in need. It has been established for over 13 years, and it cannot be overlooked. So next time you go out and break bread and go out for lunch or have dinner, City Council members, remember that you are consuming labor of farmers. We're asking you, as representative of the city, to step in and help South Central farmers. We need this place for our community. We are not only growing food, but we're also growing and teaching and raising kids, future leaders of the country. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, City Council members. My name is Alberto Platoa. Honored Council members, this is a translation from the presentation made by a South Central farmer last Friday. The interpreter did such a poor job that we feel compelled to read the English version ourselves. Mr. Cardenas, last Wednesday you said before this hallowed chamber that a powerful judge dictated that the land that we were turned into a green lung in South Central Los Angeles belongs to a person to whom this council sold it to. In this matter, you gave the impression of wanting to wash your hands of the whole affair. We know that South Central Los Angeles suffers from extremely contaminated air that results in an epidemic of respiratory diseases among our children. Was it not this council that sold the land back to Mr. Horwitz, who now seeks to destroy the farm to build a mega warehouse and thus further poison the air in our area? Was it not this council that sold the land behind closed doors at a price below market value without giving the farmers nor the general public a chance to oppose the sale of the public land? Mr. Cardenas, it does no good any good to hide your responsibilities behind the decisions of the courts. This council committed the initial error by ignoring the interests of the farmers and those of the residents of Los Angeles, and now the council turns its back on our community. All we ask is that the council recognize its error and rectify it by giving us the opportunity to buy the property back. And for those who do not believe that this council made the decision of selling back the property to the developer, here is the evidence. South Central farmers, feeding families, and for the record, somebody pass out to the councilman. South Central farmers, feeding families, feeding friends, feeding hope. Y aquí estamos y no nos vamos.
Thank you very much. We'll next go out to the San Fernando Valley. We have Ruben Benzazon out in the San Fernando Valley at our Van Nuys facility for next public comment. Ruben? Again, we remind folks that they can visit Van Nuys, and we have a remote facility to give public comment on matters there. As soon as we have that link. Oh, he's not there right now? Okay. Why don't we have Melrose Larry Green come forward while we're hooking up that link to give his testimony, and then we'll hear from Ruben out in the San Fernando Valley. Thank you, Melrose Larry Green.
Thank you, Mr. President, and what a great speech Mayor Villaraigosa made last night. And I happened to be watching it on TV after the State of the Union, which also was a good speech, and the President's speech was excellent, and Mayor Villaraigosa's response in Spanish was excellent. Yo hablo español también, yo soy gringo, pero yo sí hablo español. I understood every word. I went down to Getty House. He recognized me before the press conference, and it was a great speech. And it's no secret that I think Mayor Villaraigosa would be a great president, or if it's too soon, vice president. And I see 15 people around here that could fill in as mayor should that day happen, and sooner rather than later. I mean that, sooner rather than later. Everybody should listen to Mayor Villaraigosa's comments last night about George Bush. He didn't use the word lying about the war in Iraq, and he got his points across, and the points were very valid, and I just wish he gave the response in English. Maybe the governor of Virginia ought to give it in Spanish. I could teach him Spanish. Sorry? Thank you, Councilman Rosendahl. That being said, I want to allocate my second 1 minute to an event that I will be at later today at 4:30. Thanks to Councilman Reyes and his great work with the MTA, I have a pass. I'm going to be riding all over LA today for $3. And at Westwood at 4:30 today, my Republican Jewish Coalition is sponsoring a rally against Islamofascism. That's right, it's against Islamofascism, right at the Federal Building, 11,000 Wilshire. I think you know the area, Bill. And you're all welcome. Your friend Melrose will be there, and then I'm going to take the red bus, the big red bus, down to Weston and Wilshire and grab a red line and go attend a comedy show in North Hollywood tonight. So all going on in the life of Melrose Larry Green. So lots of mazel to all of you. And again, Mayor Villaraigosa, thank you for the kind words over the years. And you're doing a great job. And I'm very proud of you last night. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Green. And we do not have a speaker out in Van Nuys anymore, so we will then close public comment. And next order of business, Madam Clerk.
Before beginning the regular agenda, Mr. President, on item number 19, which is the closed session item, the city attorney's requested that matter be continued 2 weeks, and the new date would be February 15th.
Is there any objection to that, colleagues? If not, unanimous vote, that will be continued.
On the regular agenda, item number 1 is an item notice for public hearing. It's a street vacation in in Council District 15, and if there are no protests, the council can instruct the city engineer to proceed.
Okay, we'll open and close the public hearing on that item. Anybody wishing to be heard? If not, please prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
We'll instruct the city engineer to proceed with that. Next items, please.
Item number 2 is also a public hearing item, and on that item, the applicant consents to a continuance to March 8th.
Okay. There's been acceptance of that. We do have a public speaker card. If that's been continued, is it in order to hear that?
Yes.
Okay. Sylvia Hawkins on number 2, if you'd like to come forward for 2 minutes.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sylvia Hawkins. On item number 2, I know it has been forward until a later date. Before moving forward on this issue of trash bins companies dealing with different things that they have to pick up concerning lumber as they build new homes and apartments, let's be aware of illegal trash bins that has been taken out of the garbage can of different districts, trash of Department of Motor Vehicle Information. After we receive our driving license, more information of donation is in the package with our new driving license, of where we would donate our body part, our organ parts, of illegal signing these documents without the customer permission. We are asking the Department of Motor Vehicles to please stop mailing out with new customers' driver's license these documents. These papers are being signed illegally by other people. These papers and documents are going to different hospitals illegally to donate other people private part. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Hawkins. Anybody wishing to be heard on this item? If not, please prepare the roll. Oh, that's just going to be, I'm sorry, that was a continuation. So if there's no objection, unanimous vote on that. Ms. Perry, would you like to make an announcement?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I wanted to ask the members of the Breathe California Coalition to rise and be recognized. They're here in the back, and to welcome them here today. This morning, we announced our support for the California Children's Breathing Act, which is Senate Bill 1205, introduced by State Senator Marta Escutia. This is a very significant piece of legislation, and the resolution, the motion I introduced yesterday in Council, is one that I hope, and I'm fairly certain you'll all join us in supporting. This is very significant because this will protect the rights of children to have clean air, and it will be coming up in committee pretty soon. And it will cause more significant penalties to be placed upon polluters who are located within 500 feet of children, schools, playgrounds, things like that. So I want to thank them for coming here today and express our support for what they are about to embark upon for 2006.
Thank you, Ms. Berry. Mr. Rosendahl?
Yes, I'd like to just second what my colleague who has provided leadership on this to the council has said. This is Bill 1205, and it's the Children's Breathing Rights Act, which will help protect our children's right to clean and healthy air by having the California Air Resource Board define the term serious and chronic violators, increase the penalties for those found to be serious and chronic violators, and establish a Children's Breathing Rights Fund that would help fund local children's health initiatives and improve state and local air quality enforcement activities. So congratulations for the leadership you're all providing on that subject. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next order of business.
Next items, Mr. President, are items for which public hearings have been held, items 3 through 14. Item number 3 is a confirmation of a commissioner. Do you wish to hold that on the desk?
Yes, please. Let's hold that on the desk.
That would be before council 4 through 14.
Okay. Items 4 through 14. Colleagues, any specials? Seeing none, please prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Those are approved. Next items.
Next items are items for which public hearings have not been held, items 15 through 18. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay. Items 15 through 18. We do have a card on 17, 2 cards on 17. And on 18, we have 1 card as well. So let's call those special. Any other specials, colleagues? Seeing none, please prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, next items.
That would take council back to item number 3, which is a confirmation of Mr. George Moss to the Board of Transportation Commissioners.
Okay, Mr. Moss, if you'd like to step forward. Thank you for putting yourself forward for public service. And I know our Transportation Chair, she's excused today. Please come to the table, if you don't mind. All the way to the table, sir. But I know Ms. Gruhl positively recommended your nomination. With that, I'd like to recognize Mr. Weiss to be followed by Mr. Zine and Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. President.
And Mr. Rosendahl.
Welcome and congratulations in advance, Mr. Moss. It's great to have you here and look forward very much to your service.
Thank you.
I would like to take the liberty of introducing the family members that you have brought with you today, your wife, Ruth, and your son, Richard. If you could both stand up. It's great to have you here today. I'm just delighted that the mayor has chosen you because I know you and your family so well, and I know of the commitment each and every one of you have, not just to the city, but to so many important philanthropic causes throughout the city. We've encountered each other through years in so many different areas. One thing that I want to let my colleagues know about in particular is your work with the Anti-Defamation League. You recently endowed a national prize there in honor of Daniel Pearl, the LA-born, Valley-born journalist who was killed by Al-Qaeda in Pakistan. And you endowed an award that's given to national journalists by the National ADL every year in his honor. You and Ruth did that. You're to be commended for that. And I'm just delighted that we're going to have you working to solve this most intractable of our city's problems. So thanks for being here, George, and congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. Mr. Zine?
Thank you, Mr. President. George, good morning. You can take that visitor's pass off because you're no longer going to be a visitor. You're going to be a commissioner. Your lovely wife's over here taking pictures of you. I said you're on the hot seat now. Transportation, a huge issue. As you know, the San Fernando Valley is plagued with transportation problems that affect this entire region. And it's not only us in cars and on motorcycles, but there's folks who are getting ripped off by bandit taxi cabs. So transportation affects us in vehicles, the people who are using taxi cabs, all of us. We're all impacted by that. The buses that have to travel down the roadways, we're all affected by that. And as these ideas come forward, I know that you have your stakes in the San Fernando Valley. Like most of us, don't forget that when they talk about deployment of traffic officers at strategic intersections, the San Fernando Valley, we have that same problem, that other parts of the city. So I know that you have your heart and interest in the city. I know your support for this administration, your friendship with many, many people. I just want to encourage you to that common sense approach you have to making things change, to making it better, because if we can't do something with transportation, we all feel gridlocked and it affects us all in a negative fashion. So welcome to the city family. I know you'll do well on that commission, and it's good to have your wife and son here with you today, here in council chambers. So I know you'll get a unanimous vote.
Thank you, and I appreciate those words of encouragement.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Zine. And next recognize Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to join in some of the comments made by Mr. Weiss about your role in the community. And I've had the pleasure of knowing you and your son and your family for about 20 years now, and not in a political realm, but really in a community realm. Your involvement in our community in the San Fernando Valley is very important to us, and we have a strong voice on that commission. And I also know when I ran for office, I met with Valley PAC, which you're a member of, and I remember the discussion. 75% of the discussion was about transportation. And the reason is, it's part of that group that you're a part of was Alan Lawrence, the State Transportation Commissioner, David Fleming, and Richard Katz, all very involved people in the transportation leadership here in the state of California. And so I know that you work with those kind of people, you talk to those kind of people, and you have a tremendous grasp on the issue of transportation. And I think this appointment is a great appointment by the mayor, for one, that you're a very community-connected person and a fine man. On top of that, good community man, a good husband and father, but also that you have a real strong grasp of transportation issues, and particularly as a builder-developer, you help create some of those problems. So you'll bring that viewpoint to the commission. I heartily commend the mayor for his appointment, and thank you, and good luck to you.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you very much, Mr. Smith. Our last speaker is Mr. Rosendahl.
Yes, I rise to congratulate you first for joining this commission that has great challenges, and your wife Ruth is right here. The camera can catch her right behind me, and I know behind you is your wife and everything you do. Question: why do you want to be this Commissioner of Transportation?
Well, first of all, as was pointed out previously, our city faces a monumental task in mitigating the congestion that we have, that we're plagued with. And hopefully, as a business executive, I've developed the skill of synthesizing and analyzing problems and arriving at decisions. And hopefully, I can utilize this talent on the commission and help to develop strategies that will mitigate and ease the congestion we're facing. And also, as a business person, I will hopefully provide vigorous oversight in the management and the methods and operations of the Department of Transportation.
That's great to hear that. Great to hear that. There are small things and big things. What are the small things we need to do to deal with the gridlock, and what are some of the big things you envision?
Well, I think the big thing, of course, is to try to curb the amount of congestion we have and to develop methods that we can ease this problem. I think that is a long-range thing, and it has to be a combination of small steps. And there are strategies that have been developed with signalization, synchronization, and movement of trucks at certain hours and things of that nature that will help to ease the problem. But it's a long-range situation, and we have to employ tactics that will eventually curb this problem.
Well, it's music to my ears, and I just want to stick in the back of your head. I'm from the West Side, and the West Side is in gridlock all day long. And my people have had it. They're fed up. And not only do we need left-hand turn signals and synchronized lights, we need to get the Expo line to the beach within the next 10 years. We need to get the green line from the airport up Lincoln Boulevard. And we need to get that red line subway down parts of Wilshire and other streets that bring it to the west side. So I look forward to your leadership in helping us get rid of the strangulation that we're suffering, at least on the west side. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Reyes, to be followed by Mr. Padilla.
Thank you, Council President. Good morning, Mr. Moss.
Morning.
I haven't had the pleasure of knowing you or experiencing working with you in the past, but we have been able to complete what's called the first phase of the goal line. And we finished in such a way where we had to deal with state cutbacks. And so our ability to build the necessary parking for these rail stations was severely limited. In many instances, we don't have enough parking to get people from their home to get in a car to get to the rail station. And so our ridership is low. We look at rail lines as a method by which we can ease the congestion on our major highways and our major arterials. My question to you, sir, would be, how do you feel about neighborhood circulators, neighborhood dash systems that could provide an alternative to folks who essentially are using their cars just to get to the store and back? It's an inconvenience not to use your car. My feeling is that circulators have a potential for addressing a market that we have yet to prioritize. I want to get your perspective on that point of view.
Well, I think that one of the answers to the problem we have is to develop more transit-oriented situations where we can have businesses, residences adjoining the transportation core centers, and that would eliminate a lot of traffic on the streets. I think that's a trend that has been advocated by our mayor, and I strongly support it because I think that's the future, is to orient developments where the transportation core centers are, and that will help ease the congestion that we were experiencing.
And we've been doing that in the Chinatown Station site. We're working on a project there. We're completing over 600 units on the Avenue 26 station with retail and commercial within the same facility. And we're looking at other facilities like that. My question is more direct as to your impression on local circulators, smaller bus vehicles, electric ones, non-polluting, where they're not noisy within neighborhoods. Have you had any thoughts or impressions on that particular issue?
Well, I haven't given a great deal of thought to that particular issue, but I can see where there is a need for that type of utilization in the neighborhoods to avoid what you've stressed here.
Well, I'm looking forward to working with you. I'd love to see the city address the local neighborhoods, their local transit needs. It might ease the congestion and the traffic buildup from the city-wide traffic patterns, because we're in the middle of a regional traffic situation, and how we ease those pressures in dense areas is going to be very important in the east side and the south side, and as much as the valley and the beach communities. So looking forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Mr. Padilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I too rise in support of this phenomenal nominee for the commission. And just to follow up a little bit on what Mr. Rosendahl suggested, your thoughts, your ideas. You talked about transportation in general. Your business experience is certainly going to play a big role here, but any comments or observations you'd like to share about the San Fernando Valley specifically? You know, we have the new Orange Line out there, expanding Metro Rapid service. Any other specific ideas you have to help get traffic moving in the valley?
Well, I think that the Orange Line is a good example of what we can do in the future. The ridership on that has excelled the expectations originally, and I think that it provides a corridor of transportation going all the way from North Hollywood to Warner Center, and something that was long needed in that vicinity. I think that the same type of transit situation can be developed in other parts of the city. And I think that can be done at costs far below other methods and modes, although we have to consider other possibilities too. Well, that's just one example of what we can do in the future.
Well, I look forward to working with you on that. The Orange Line is great if you're traveling east-west in the valley. Mm-hmm. I'm also looking
north-south.
to north-south corridors.
Yes. That's why I say I think that something like that would be appropriate in a north-south direction to allow people from the Mission Hills area to get south and to enjoy some type of transportation facility that they lack right now.
And for those who insist on staying in their cars, I think there's a lot that we can do to further deploy the ADSAC system, the light synchronization system that we have in Los Angeles. So just a couple of things to add to your work plate. Welcome aboard, and you have my vote.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Padilla. And that is our last speaker. So please prepare the roll, Madam Clerk, on the nomination and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Welcome aboard, Commissioner. Congratulations.
Thank you, members of the council, for the confidence you've shown me, and I hope that I will be worthy of this confidence.
We know you will. Thank you very much, Mr. Moss. Next order of business, please.
Next item is item 17, call special for cards from the public.
Okay, item 17 we have before us. Oh, sorry, Mr. Reyes, yes.
Move forthwith on number 6, please.
Okay, well, 6 will go forthwith. And item 17, Melrose Larry Green, to be followed by Sylvia Hawkins.
Good morning again. I'm Melrose Larry Green. Item 17, I was going through the agenda. I was very touched to read in the LA Times last week that Councilwoman Perry and Councilman Rosendahl and my friend from the Burbank Airport, Gil Cedillo, were in New York, where I'm from, and I was very touched to read that they were meeting with Mayor Bloomberg and his people to try to replicate some of New York's solutions for homelessness and bring them over to LA. And I was only sad that I wasn't with you, but I hope you learned a lot in New York, and I hope I'll be able to visit you at my own expense on your next trip to New York. And item 17 is relative to declaring the elementary school matinee for the Prospector a special event. This is the Prospector sponsored by the LA Opera. You may not know this. My nephew is an opera maven. He's getting his PhD at Rutgers, and he's a really good boy. And opera's very important. And your friend Melrose, compassionate Republican that I am, went to public schools. And Councilman Huizar, what you are doing and what you're doing, Ms. Perry, to help out the homeless in your districts and education in your districts is wonderful. And there's a myth that Republicans don't care about the problems that Democrats care about. We do. We just don't show it, but we do. And I think item 17 is wonderful, and all the work. I mainly came here to talk about the great work that you're doing. And Ms. Perry, you don't get enough credit what you're doing in downtown. I'm going to go shopping on Broadway after this, and it's great what you're doing in downtown. Rome wasn't built in a day, but you're doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, Sylvia Hawkins, on this item, which is the elementary school matinee for the Prospector.
Thank you.
Please.
Again, dealing with number 17, and dealing with the school grades of F minus, dropout rate is growing, even dealing with universities. Before giving this school money of $2,956, we must not continue to allow Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger to gain $60 million for charter schools, which is all Muslim Mason schools. We must first, before we give this sort of money out, delete all beef, pork, and regular sugar, which is basically causing Calmanis disease, which is basically causing our kids to drop out of school. It would be a waste if we give him $60 million and he delivered to the schools beef and pork and sugar, which would again give them a brain of the grade of F. As we delete our beef and pork and sugar, regular sugar, and use equal and all cheap value food, before giving these food agreements to schools and homeless shelters. This is not healthy for schools or homeless people if we give them a shelter to stay and now give them food that is really causing them to walk out of shelters, looking mentally ill, slow learning, and back to D minus, and back to no reason to go to school, no desire to achieve. So I'm with the change of food, and then we can give the $60 million to the homeless shelter or to
Thank
school.
you, Ms. Hawkins.
Thank
Appreciate your testimony. Please prepare the roll on this motion and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
And that did pass. Thank you. Next item, number 18, Ms. Hawkins, if you'd like to give public testimony on number 18. We'd love to hear your comments continue.
Thank you. This is the last thing on the agenda today. On number 18, before passing this permit for public workers to use this City Hall room of Tom Bradley on March the 6th or any celebration, we must include the public people of any celebration in this building. There must be a resolution on this matter to celebrate every Friday with all 18 race in this building of any event. We must not walk over the public people because we are separating ourselves, we're dealing with a war of race, or because separating ourselves, dealing with basically how are we handling ourselves of so many different celebrations of cultures of race. This building is a building that is built by Jewish. It is a Jewish building that we want to celebrate with all 18 race. This building is not for black people only. It is for all people. It is for all race, every county to celebrate, not separate a date for your race. It's over 18 races here. So I'm with everyone celebrating together and enjoying every Friday with food for the public people and not for a certain district or your county. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Hawkins. We'll be sure to refer those comments to Ms. Perry, where the City Hall, her district is encompassing. Any other items for public comment? I mean, for public consideration, Madam Clerk?
No, council needs to vote on this item.
Okay, let's please prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That passes. Thank you very much. Next item.
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Those are posted and referred.
There are excuses on the desk. Councilmember Labange requests to be excused March 3rd, 7th, and 8th for city business. That meets council policy.
Mr. Labange is excused.
And Councilmember Wesson requests to be excused February 21st and 22nd for city business. A motion is required.
Okay, Mr. Zion moves and Mr. Smith seconds. No objection, unanimous vote, so ordered, and he is excused.
And that clears the desk.
Okay. We have one item for closed session in accordance with California... Oh, we continued it, so that clears the desk. Announcements, colleagues. Any announcements? Adjourning motions? Anybody got? Yes? Okay, please, if everybody will stand for adjourning motions. Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask the council to adjourn in memory of Marcia Candalee Rufino Mitchell, the daughter of the late jazz trumpeter Condi Candalee and a North Hills West activist Peggy Randall Burgess, who passed away on January 23rd at the age of 51. Marcia was born in South Bend, Indiana, and moved to Los Angeles with her family in 1955. Marcia was married to Russell Rufino in 1979 and had 3 sons. Following their divorce in 1993, Marcia married Paul Mitchell in November of 1999 and was widowed when Paul passed away in 2004. Marcia was a child of light, free spirit who touched everyone she met. She is survived by her 3 sons, Russell, Michael, and Danny Rufino, and ex-husband Russell Rufino, her mother Peggy, and a beloved uncle Peter Candalee. She left too soon and too young.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Other adjourning motions? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll. This meeting of the Los Angeles City Council is adjourned. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you Friday.